The seminar wrapped up right at 3:30, and I remember sitting in my car afterward, hands on the steering wheel, telling myself I should just suck it up and make the drive home. 5.5 hours if traffic behaved, maybe 6 if it didn't. I didn't do it. My supervisor had blocked off an 8 a.m. check-in the next morning. In person, no excuses. If I drove home, I'd be leaving again before dawn, half asleep, risking something stupid on the highway. I needed a bed, just for a few hours, somewhere forgettable. That turned out to be harder than expected. I struck out at 3 hotels near the convention center in Columbus. Every desk clerk sounded tired of saying the same thing. Fully booked. Some regional nursing conference had swallowed the city whole. One woman suggested I try out by the interstate, like she was sending me into exile. I followed the directions she gave and ended up several exits west, where the lights got sparser and the road signs looked older than they should have. The place I finally found was called the Silver Pine Motor Court. The sign buzzed like it was dying. Half the letters were dark. It wasn't my kind of stop. Rooms opened straight onto the parking lot. The asphalt was cracked and uneven, with puddles that hadn't dried since the last rain. But it was pushing 9, my eyes were burning, and the vacancy sign was on. Inside the office, the air smelled faintly of burnt coffee. The woman behind the counter was polite in a mechanical way, like she'd learned friendliness from a training video years ago and never updated it. She told me the ice dispenser upstairs was out of order, but the one on the ground floor still worked. Breakfast was basic, served early. Wi-Fi info was scribbled on my key envelope. Room 214, second floor, right side. The room hit me with that sharp chemical scent hotels use when they don't want you to think too hard about what was there before. The carpet was busy enough to hide anything. The comforter had small melted spots near the foot, like someone had nodded off with a cigarette at some point in its life. I didn't bother unpacking. I ordered greasy food, ate until I felt heavy and slow, flipped channels without watching, then stood under the shower longer than necessary. The water pressure was the only genuinely pleasant surprise. I set my alarm for just before 6 and shut the lights off a little after midnight. What woke me wasn't the ice machine itself. It was the sound of ice being taken. That hollow, repetitive thud as cubes dropped into plastic. Over and over. Deliberate. Too slow to be someone filling a cup. Too steady to be accidental. I checked the clock on my phone. 1:52 a.m. The noise kept going. Then footsteps passed outside my door. Rubber soles on concrete. Someone moving with purpose. Silence followed. I'd almost drifted off again when it started up once more. Ice tumbling. Same rhythm, same pace. Then footsteps again, this time heading the opposite direction. It happened again. And again. By the 4th round, my irritation had edged into something sharper. I slid out of bed and looked through the peephole. The hallway was empty, washed in flickering fluorescent light that made the walls look faintly green. At the far end, I could see the vending machines, and beside them, the ice dispenser. I waited. A few minutes later, a man stepped into view. Plain clothes, light shirt, jeans. He carried a bucket and walked straight to the machine. I listened as it filled, the ice clattering loudly in the quiet corridor. When he finished, he walked past my door toward the stairwell. Fine, I thought. Maybe someone with a cooler. Maybe a long night. 3 minutes later, he came back. Same bucket, empty. By the sixth trip, my jaw was tight. I opened my door as he approached, the hallway air cool against my face. "Hey," I said, forcing my voice into something neutral. "Everything all right?" "That's a lot of ice." He didn't slow down, didn't turn his head. He passed close enough that I caught a faint, metallic smell, like cold water and pennies, and went straight to the machine. Filled the bucket. Walked past me again without a flicker of acknowledgement. I stood there, hands still on the doorframe, feeling oddly exposed. I watched him disappear down the stairs, then waited. Sure enough, he returned, empty bucket swinging lightly at his side. This time I raised my voice. "Can you knock it off? People are sleeping." Nothing. He moved as if I were part of the wall. Not rude, not dismissive, just absent. Back inside my room, I locked the door and called the front desk. It rang long enough that I almost hung up. When someone finally answered, the voice on the other end sounded thick with sleep. I explained about the man, the ice, the noise. There was a pause. Then the clerk said, slowly, "Sir, the second-floor ice machine hasn't worked in months." I told him he'd been at it for nearly 40 minutes straight. The line went quiet. "Hello?" I said. The clerk cleared his throat. "Sir, the ice unit up there doesn't function." "That's impossible," I said. "I'm hearing it right now. I'm watching a guy fill a bucket over and over." Another pause, longer this time. "That machine is unplugged." I glanced back at the door, my hand resting against the cheap wood. "I'm standing 5 feet from it. He's using it." "Which room are you in?" 214. "I'll come take a look." I cracked the door and waited. While I stood there, the bucket guy made 2 more rounds. Same timing, same empty, focused walk. No rush, no hesitation. Then a new set of footsteps came up the stairs, heavier, uneven, carrying weight. The night clerk emerged into the hallway, a thick-necked man in his late 50s wearing a faded Colts shirt and cargo shorts. He gave me a brief nod, then went straight to the ice dispenser. He stood there, staring at it, then pulled out his phone and shined the light behind the panel. After a moment, he turned back to me. "It's dead," he said. "Motor burned out." But I stopped myself. "I saw someone, right here." "No one's been able to use it," he said. "Not since we cut power." We stood there together. The hallway was eerily still, just the buzz of the lights overhead. "I don't hear anything," he said. That was when I heard the steps. They came from the stairwell again, same cadence as before, measured, familiar. The man appeared at the top landing with the bucket hanging loose in his hand and started toward the machine. "There," I said, lifting my arm. "That's him." The clerk followed my gesture, his brow creased. "I don't see—" The man passed between us. I could make out details I hadn't noticed before. Early 30s, tired face, hair flattened like he'd been running his hands through it. A white shirt with some faded logo across the chest. Old jeans, frayed at the cuffs. He stopped at the machine and reached inside. His arm went straight through the metal housing. He moved his hand as if scooping, and the sound came back. Ice striking plastic, loud and unmistakable. But the bucket stayed hollow. Nothing fell, Nothing moved. He turned and walked away again. My skin prickled from scalp to spine. "You saw that," I whispered. The clerk didn't answer right away. When he did, his voice had lost its edge. "Go back inside," he said. "Lock your door." "What is that thing?" "Please," he said. "Just do it." I retreated into my room and slid the deadbolt into place, my hands clumsy. I went straight to the peephole. The clerk lingered in the hallway for a moment, rubbing his face, then walked over to the ice machine. He reached behind it, fiddled with something, then headed back toward the stairs. A minute later, the footsteps returned. The man came back again. Same routine, same sound, same empty bucket. I backed away from the door and sat on the edge of the bed, my heart thudding in my ears. The noise kept cycling. Impact, footsteps, quiet. Like a loop that refused to break. I tried drowning it out with music through my earbuds. Didn't work. Stuffed pillows over my head, still there. Eventually, exhaustion won. I don't remember falling asleep, just waking up to sunlight leaking through the curtains and my alarm buzzing angrily on the nightstand. I was out of the room in 10 minutes. At checkout, the morning clerk, same woman as before, smiled brightly like nothing unusual had ever happened in that building. "Everything okay with your stay?" "Yeah," I said. "Fine." I hesitated, then asked, "That ice machine upstairs, how long has it been broken?" Her smile tightened. "A little over a week." The night clerk said longer. She held my gaze. "Old buildings make noise," she said lightly. "Walls carry things they shouldn't." "That's not what I meant." She slid my receipt across the counter. "Drive safe." I sat in my car afterward, engine off, staring at the entrance. Then I searched the motel's name on my phone. Most of the results were predictable. Complaints, warnings, nothing out of the ordinary. Until I scrolled further. A local news article from years back surfaced. The headline was blunt. "Man killed in motel equipment accident." The summary was short. A 32-year-old guest had died while trying to dislodge jammed ice from a second-floor machine. A mechanical failure. Wrong place at the wrong time. Authorities ruled it accidental. There was a mention of why he'd been up so late. His wife was sick, high fever. He'd been trying to keep her drinks cold through the night. The photo beneath the article showed the motel wrapped in caution tape, second floor corridor sealed off. I stared at it until my screen dimmed. Then I started the car and drove straight home. I haven't stayed in a roadside motel since.